This is a Forex Preview. Thanks for joining us at xam.com. Pressure is mounting over the eurozone area, especially as winter is approaching, and the stakes could not be higher over at the European Central Bank right now, especially when the euro hit a new two-decade low against the US dollar yesterday. But can the ECB come to the euro's rescue? I'm Cristina Marujos. Joining me today is our investment analyst, Cristina Pertenido. Cristina, there is a valid argument that the ECB didn't act fast enough earlier in the year, and the energy crisis is only making things worse. How aggressive is the European Central Bank likely to be at Thursday's meeting?
Hi, Christina. Well, I think the ECB will be more aggressive than it was back in July. I know that there are some arguments supporting that the central bank will keep the pace steady, repeating a 50 basis point rate hike this Wednesday because, recession is very likely this winter and perhaps imminent given the energy crisis and the supply constraints that keep weighing on production. So that suggests a more careful approach for the ECB, but there's something more certain than recession, and that is, of course, inflation. I mean, the war is something more certain. Well, the war in Ukraine is not something that the EU can solve, and the pandemic, although it has weakened lately, it's not certain how it will evolve during the winter months. Of course, a stimulative fiscal policy could partially provide some protection against inflation to consumer and businesses. And actually, the EU has already announced an emergency package that will reduce the energy costs within the bloc. But honestly, it's really questionable whether all member states can find a common ground and sign the deal immediately, given the fact that each member state has different needs in energy and at different proportions. So fiscal policy could be complicated and time-consuming, and that suggests that the ECB will be alone in fighting inflation in the region for now. As you mentioned, the central bank was late in raising interest rates. It raised rates only once this year. That was back in July, and that makes me think that inflation may not easily slow down in the region, at least not as fast as, let's say, the US, where interest rates are far above the eurozone ones. And that will likely motivate more aggressive rate increases in the eurozone in the year ahead, starting this Wednesday. The economy is already showing some signs of weakness. The latest business PMI figures revealed some weakness in domestic and external demand, higher input prices, and falling new orders. Business and consumer confidence indices are well within the negative region for some months now, and are not far above the low levels that they hit during the previous recession period. So apparently new rate increases will not be very comfortable, but still looking at consumption, this is still healthy and the labor market remains tight, and I think that it's better to act now than later because actually there is no option. It's either letting inflation causing a recession and becoming something more persisting in the longer term, or creating a recession through higher interest rates. And I think that the central bank would like to stay on the sidelines, and of course it would choose the second option. Now, how aggressive it could turn? My opinion is that the ECB will choose a 75 basis point rate increase, although its growth projections may not be great. I suspect that it will be quite difficult to support an inflation peak in the coming months as well. So for me, I think, a more aggressive tightening could happen this week.
I see. Let's turn to the market reaction as well. With the euro crumbling, can an aggressive ECB be enough to save it right now?
I think that a euro below parity is not, against the US dollar is not something that makes the ECB happy right now. Because a weakening currency could make imported inflation worse in the coming months. So a hawkish stance like a 75 basis point rate increase accompanied with expectations that inflation may stay elevated for longer than expected, and therefore additional aggressive rate increases will be needed. That could help the euro bounce back above parity this week. So the rate announcement itself may not be very helpful for the euro unless the ECB adopts a hawkish communication too. Otherwise, I believe that a 50 basis point rate hike could be considered a dovish announcement, and the cautious outlook for the year ahead could further press the euro to the downside.
Cristina, thanks for joining me today. The European Central Bank meets on Thursday. This was a Forex Preview here at xm.com.